So I was on staff at this church, and my main job was to create environments that people could invite their friends to. And I'll never forget this one. We had this concert. It was a big deal. We had gotten a band and flyers, and we'd set it all up. We had smoke machines and lights and the whole deal. And anyone that's ever done something like this knows this moment where you're pacing out front, hoping, praying that people actually bring their friends. And I was neurotic. I'm calling my friends. You're bringing people, right? You better be bringing people. And we do the concert, and there was like, I think we were set up to have at least 1,000 people we could have hosted, and I think we had like 80. And I wanted to die, and I thought I was going to be fired. It was both of those things. But I went off with a group of my friends who helped me run this thing, and we went to a local barbecue place, and we walk in, and the place is jammed full of people. It's like a Thursday night. It's jammed. And I asked the hostess, what's going on here? Why is this place jammed? She said, oh, well, every Thursday night we have a band come and play as just part of the deal, and it's free. You can come watch the band. And I looked around and realized this is all the people we wanted. Like a mile away where we were meeting, this is exactly who we wanted in our room, and they're already gathered in another place. And it started my mind thinking, where are people already? Instead of trying to get them to another place, where are they already? That we could go and be with them and serve them where they already are. And then it was a little bit later that my wife and I would host our small group in our apartment. And I was driving home after working, and I was exhausted, and I didn't want to do small group. So, whenever you don't want to actually do your small group, you just call it, a party night. It's the fellowship night. So I called her and said, let's just have a barbecue, invite everybody over. She says, yeah, that'd be good. Let's just do that. So we, said just people bring different stuff, and we set up the barbecue. And as I was setting up the barbecue outside of my apartment, different people were walking into the apartment complex. I said, oh, hey, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm just grilling out. I said, actually, if you'd want to come by, you could stop by. Just stop by. We'll be out here in the courtyard, and then we'll also be up in our apartment, and this is our apartment. And they said, oh, really? Are you sure? Yeah, just come. Do I need to bring anything? No, just come by. It would just be good to hang out. And slowly I'm inviting every person that's walking in. They're coming in after work. And then Danielle gets the idea, who's my wife, I should just go around and invite people. So she goes door to door and just starts inviting people. And then the folks show up for our small group with all their stuff. And next thing you knew, we had hundreds of people streaming in and out of our apartment, from the apartment complex, friends of friends. And different people in the apartment kept saying, man, this is great. We should do something like this all the time. It's so cool to be able to hang out, and thanks for hosting this. And then even some said, I've noticed like 20, 30 people just shuffle in and out of your apartment every week. And I've always wondered, I wonder what they're doing. I wonder if I could come. I wonder if I'm invited. And just to realize that people are noticing, and they're desperate for a way to be together. And all it took was throwing a little extra meat on the grill and just saying, would you want to come? And through that one party, we did a series like that. We got to know our entire apartment complex, and we helped people out of drug addiction, on the verge of divorce in their marriage. There was a domestic dispute thing that happened in our apartment. We were the first people they called. They came in and said, could you help me? I don't know what to do. And we started to effectively become pastors of our neighborhood by simply just throwing a party. And it started to make me realize how real the greatest commandment is. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And to realize the point of the story. You know the story that Jesus tells with that, where he talks about a man that was robbed, and he's on the side of the road, and different people who are good religious types see the man there, and they just pass on the other side of the road until a Samaritan, who would be effectively like a terrorist, the bad guy of the story, notices the man, and he takes care of him. He tends to his wounds, takes him to an inn, and pays for the man to be healed up. He says, I'll give you extra money as long as it takes for this guy to be made right. And of course, Jesus says, well, who was the neighbor? And the right answer is, of course, the Samaritan. And the point of the story is, see, what it means to truly love your neighbor is to love your enemy. And that's what everybody preaches. That's what we all talk about. And it's Jesus takes the concept of being a neighbor and stretches it to the nth degree, saying, you have to not just love the person near you, but you love the person farthest from you in culture and morality and in every way that you could imagine. The person that you would be tempted to hate is the one that you're supposed to love. And that's the way we understand it. And so that's what we aim for. We aim to love people that are farthest from us. But in aiming at loving someone that we hate, we end up often not loving anybody at all. See, that's sort of the graduate level of loving people. And I think that most of us need to start at the kindergarten level. Jesus assumes that we will love the neighbors closest to us, but that's not true for most of us today. We don't even know the names of our neighbors. He says, start with the people closest, and maybe we can work out. And the realization that I was on staff at a church to do outreach when I didn't know the names of my neighbors was a horrible realization. And to realize how easy it was to simply love the people nearest me. I mean, actually kind of how fun. And ever since then, I've really tried to think about that. What would it look like if every person that takes Jesus seriously would start with their neighbors? And so like if you would even just draw this diagram for yourself, with these boxes. And each of these boxes represents a neighbor right next to where you live. So someone across the street, someone behind you on either side, diagonal. And write your address here in the middle box. And then in each of these boxes, write the name, just the name of your neighbors, just in the top part of this box, like Joe and Beth or whatever. Write their names in to each of these 8. And then in the kind of the middle half of the box, just write some attributes about them. Is a lawyer, likes to play golf, is from Idaho, whatever. Just basic attributes, something I wouldn't be able to see visually. You can't say something like has a rose bush out front. That's cheating, because anyone can see that. Write something that you know by just talking to. And then in the last part of the box, just write something about their heart, their dreams, their fears, what their life's about, something that is a deep thing of their life. Write that in the last part. And if you're actually doing this right now, you're probably starting to feel sick in your stomach, because when I do this with different groups in anywhere pretty much in America, most people can only about 5% of an audience can fill in all 8 boxes of someone's name. And it's about 10% of that 5% can do the second part of all 8. And truthfully, I've never met anybody in any audience that can fill in the third part of all 8 boxes. Now, let's think about what this means for a second, because this is convicting for me, because it means that if we are to take Jesus seriously, what does it mean to actually love people? What does it mean to love someone the way we want to be loved, who's our neighbor? I don't know what you think the implications of love are. There's a lot. But one implication would be to know their name. That would be at least a starting point, I think. And I think that's a great starting point. What would it look like for us to all just take seriously, we're going to walk across the street, 20 feet, ring the doorbell, and say, listen, this is ridiculous. I don't even know your name. I've lived across the street from you for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 2 months. It doesn't matter. What's your name? I'd love to introduce myself. And even then to say something as brave as, maybe you could come over. We could have dinner some night. Every person eats that I'm aware of every night. Everyone eats. Why not come over? We'd love to host you, have a nice meal together, get to know one another. And I imagine if we can start from that frame, really take Jesus seriously, there's no end to what's possible. There's no end to what's possible about how that can ripple outward. What if every person that loved Jesus in our city took that seriously? We could affect literally hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands. That's not an exaggeration. Entire families could be changed and transformed because we start to believe that somebody cares about me.